Now to a brewing controversy over the forest sector. Island sawmills are scrambling for timber, but the NDP says the Liberal government has quietly increased exports of raw logs. Opposition leader Adrian Dix accused the forest minister of allowing an increase in exports, even though a government advisory committee said they should be sold locally. Dana Hutchings has more in tonight's Checkpoint.
Jim, Steve Thompson is being accused of ignoring his specialist advisors and exporting jobs along with raw logs. But the forest minister says it isn't quite that simple. Bruce Kirkpatrick has the details.
This natural resource has been plentiful in British Columbia for centuries, but inventories are running low at our own mills. Millions of logs are being cut and stripped and sent away. Critics of the provincial government's forest policy say Forest Minister Steve Thompson has overruled the advice of his own Timber Export Advisory Committee, whose recommendations would have kept as much as 110,000 cubic meters of wood for processing in BC.
Why are logs being exported from British Columbia at the expense of BC workers' jobs?
The export of raw logs has been debated in the legislature at a time when the Premier is touting her government's jobs plan. Norm MacDonald says that should include raw logs being kept in BC.
We had manufacturers that were ready to use it to create jobs here on the island, up the coast, the lower mainland. And what the minister has done, yesterday we thought it was once, today we learn it's 86 times, is overrule his committee.
Why are you ignoring the recommendations of your own advisory council?
Let's be clear, we're not ignoring the recommendations of the advisory council. TIAC is an advisory council to the process. TIAC changed some of their criteria recently.
The IWA, now part of the Steelworkers Union, says logs should be kept in BC to keep our own mills running.
Coastland in Nanaimo can't get logs, and they basically peel veneer. They can't get logs because they're all being exported right now.
Meanwhile, BC logs continue to leave for China, Japan, South Korea and elsewhere at record volumes.
Have a good day.
It's also important to recognize that last year in 2011, over $1.2 billion in export value into British Columbia for lumber into China. So we've worked very hard to build the market. That's what's kept people employed in British Columbia.
We have to do something different, and the minister is absolutely irresponsible in doing what he's doing.
The government is reviewing raw logs with a view to maintaining both harvesting and processing employment.
And our checkpoint question tonight, is BC exporting too many raw logs?
I think so. I think we should keep it local and keep them here in BC so we can distribute them to people in Canada.
I think you probably keep it here because then you'd be able to, I don't know, control your own economy a little bit more and you'd be more local based instead of always exporting.
I think raw logs are delicious and high in fiber, and BC needs a higher diet of raw logs.
Well, if we have enough and plenty, we should export them.
Yeah.
But if we don't have enough, let's keep them here.
If there is a surplus, otherwise we keep them.
We got mills around BC closed down or shut down because they can't get the raw materials, and we're shipping them over to China after we've sold China our old mills that are obsolete, and they're in direct competition with us, and we're basically shipping jobs offshore that we need here.
The more money we can make out of the products that are basically our own here, the better.
From Twitter, Ivan says even one log is too many. Each log exported represents work not being done in BC. From Facebook, Shauna says wood, trees, oil, water. When is it going to stop? We keep saying we don't have enough jobs, but we would if they would just keep the resources here for us to use to keep the mills and other types of companies running. And the results of our web poll, it is overwhelming. 94.5% say yes, BC is exporting too many raw logs. It is interesting that a recent stat shows the government exported a record 5.5 million cubic meters of raw logs last year, more than double the amount sent out of the province 2 years ago. And that's tonight's Checkpoint.